On Monday evening, the Ukrainian Defense Forces shot down 8 more Iranian Shahed 136 kamikaze drones. The Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine announced this on Telegram, Ukrinform reports. 8 Iranian-made Shahed 136 kamikaze drones were destroyed around 2100 hours on October 17 in the area of responsibility of the Central Aviation Command, the report says. 6 loitering ammunition was shot down by fighter aircraft, anti-aircraft missile units and mobile fire groups of manpads. 2 more Shahed 130s were shot down by anti-aircraft gunners of the ground forces. In addition, at about 1500 hours, during a missile strike from the Black Sea, the Air Defense Forces of the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine shot down 2 Caliber cruise missiles. As Ukrinform reported, official Washington is cooperating with allied countries to transfer the necessary air defense systems, as well as other weapons systems, to the Ukrainian side. The situation in the operational zone in the Yuzhno-Buzhsky direction is stably difficult, but controlled. Ukrainian rocket and artillery units completed more than 250 fire missions per day. This was reported by the Operational Command South on Facebook, Ukrinform reports. The enemy is actively defending and trying to hold the occupied lines. It continues to inflict fire damage on our troops using aircraft, heavy artillery, multiple launch rocket systems, mortars, the report says. In particular, the enemy tried to bypass our positions near Novaya Kamenka with a sabotage and reconnaissance group in a platoon. In the shooting battle, they suffered losses and retreated to their original positions. To clarify the position of our troops and correct artillery fire, the enemy activated aerial reconnaissance. The Russians continue rocket attacks on the frontline Berezhnegovatskaya embankment. 4 missiles of the Smerch multiple launch rocket system were fired at agricultural land. No casualties. With heavy artillery, the enemy fired on the Kutsurab bulk along the coast. No human loss. Army and assault aircraft of the enemy struck 4 times at the Bolshaya Alexandrovskaya Mass of the Berislav region. In response, the Ukrainian Air Force launched 11 airstrikes on enemy manpower and assets, as well as on its air defense positions. Ukrainian missile and artillery units completed more than 250 fire missions. Enemy losses were confirmed in the amount of 22 Rashists, 4 tanks, 2 mortars, the Akatsia self-propelled large-caliber howitzer, the Tor M2 anti-aircraft missile system and 3 armored vehicles. In addition, 2 ammunition depots in the Berislav region were destroyed. Another tank, self-propelled howitzer MSTS, MLRS Grad, and 4 units of armored vehicles were damaged. As Ukrinform reported, on Monday evening, the Ukrainian Defense Forces shot down 8 more Iranian Shahed 136 kamikaze drones. From February 24 to October 17, the armed forces of Ukraine liquidated about 65,320 Russian occupiers, which is 320 more than the day before. The United States, along with allies and partners, will continue to punish Russia with sanctions and other restrictions for its atrocities, as well as provide all necessary support to Ukraine. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said this on Monday, an Ukrinform correspondent reports. We will continue to place costs on Russia, hold it accountable for the war crimes and atrocities that we spoke about and heard directly from the president, and provide Ukraine with defense, economic and humanitarian assistance, said a U.S. presidential administration official. She also said that the United States strongly condemns Russia's latest attacks on Kyiv and other civilian cities in Ukraine, continuing to demonstrate Putin's brutality. She stressed that America will stand by the people of Ukraine for as long as it takes. As Ukrinform reported, on Monday, the Russian Federation launched 9 missile and 39 airstrikes on Ukraine, including using Iranian-made Shahed 136 unmanned aerial vehicles. The U.S. State Department said it would impose sanctions on individuals, companies and countries doing business with Iran in connection with developing UAVs or ballistic missiles or facilitating the transfer of weapons to Russia from Iran. Russia has increased its grouping in the Black Sea to 9 ships, of which 2 aircraft carriers are equipped with Caliber missiles. This was reported by the Operational Command South on Facebook, Ukrinform reports. Despite the ongoing stormy weather, the grouping of enemy ships has been increased to 9 units, including 2 landing ships and 2 surface launchers of Caliber-type missiles, the message says. As Ukrinform reported, on Monday afternoon, air defense shot down 2 cruise missiles that the Russian Federation fired at Ukrainian energy facilities. On the night of Tuesday, explosions thundered in Nikolaev, after which the power supply was lost in the city. Correspondents of the Public Association reported this, Ukrinform reports. According to them, there is no electricity in part of the district. The head of the Nikolaev OVA, Vitaly Kim, said that repairs were already underway. In turn, the mayor of Nikolaev, Alexander Senkovich, wrote that all services work and promised to give details in the morning. Sounds of explosions in Nikolaev public were reported at 1:42. A few minutes later, an air alert was announced in the city in the region, which lasted until 2:20. Information about the hit, destruction and casualties is not yet available. As Ukrinform reported, the Russians launched 9 missile and 39 air strikes on Ukraine in 24 hours, as well as carried out about 30 attacks from multiple launch rocket systems. The United States does not yet see alarming signs associated with the introduction of troops into Belarus, which could potentially affect the development of the situation on the battlefield in Ukraine. This was announced by a senior official of the U.S. Department of Defense at a briefing on Monday, an Ukrinform correspondent reports. As for Belarus, this is something we, of course, follow. So far, we have no signs that could make us, change our views on the development of the situation, on the battlefield in its current form, said a U.S. defense official. At the same time, he added that the United States also does not observe anything regarding the movement of strategic aviation and other means of the Russian Federation capable of carrying nuclear weapons inside Russia, which could change the position of the U.S. nuclear deterrence forces in Europe. As reported, the day before, the military leadership of Belarus announced its readiness to deploy about 9,000 Russian troops on its territory as part of the deployment of a joint regional group. At the same time, Russia announced the start of an annual nuclear exercise called GROM. In this regard, NATO is conducting its own steadfast new nuclear exercise with the participation of 14 countries, during which training flights of combat aircraft will take place over Belgium, the North Sea and the UK. The enemy is trying to hold the temporarily occupied territories by concentrating his efforts on deterring the actions of the defense forces in certain directions. At the same time, the Russian occupiers are not abandoning their attempts to conduct offensive operations in the Bakhmut and Avdiivka directions. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine announced this in the morning report, Ukrinform reports. Over the past 24 hours, units of the defense forces repulsed the attacks of the invaders in the areas of the settlements of Berestovo, Kharkiv region, Bakhmutskoy, Ivangrad, Kleshchivka, Pervomaiskoy and Marinka, Donetsk region, the report says. The enemy is shelling the positions of Ukrainian troops along the entire line of confrontation, providing engineering equipment for positions and defense lines in certain directions, and conducting aerial reconnaissance. Violation of the norms of international humanitarian law, laws and customs of warfare, strikes against critical facilities and residential buildings. Over the past day, the enemy launched 10 missile and 58 airstrikes, carried out up to 60 attacks from multiple launch rocket systems. More than 35 settlements received enemy strikes. In particular, Kiev and the region, Odessa, Nikolaev regions, Belagorovka, Terny, Krasnogorovka and Mariinka, Donetsk region, Novaya Kamenka and Belogorka, Kherson region. To do this, the enemy used cruise, aviation and anti-aircraft guided missiles. In addition, 43 Iranian-made Shahed 136 unmanned aerial vehicles are involved, 38 of which were shot down by the Ukrainian military. In the Volyn and Polisia directions, the situation has not changed significantly. The threat of missile and air strikes, as well as the use of Shahed 136 strike UAVs from the territory of the Republic of Belarus, remains. In other directions, the enemy fired. In the Seversk direction, from artillery of various types, in the areas of the settlements of Senkovka, Chernihiv region and Seredina Buda and Dmitrovka, Sumy region. In the Slobozansky direction, from tanks, mortars, cannon and rocket artillery, in the areas of the settlements of Hatno, Staritsa and Strelka. In the Kupiansk direction, from mortars, cannon and rocket artillery in the area of the settlements of Berestovo, Gryanikovka, Dvureknia, Kotliarovka, Serebryanka and Stelmakovka. In the Lyman-Sky direction, from artillery of various calibers, in the areas of the settlements of Belagorovka, Grakovka, Zareknoye, Nadezhda, Novogorovka and Terny. Here the enemy also used shock UAVs. In the Bakhmut and Avdiivka directions, the enemy received fire damage from tanks, mortars, cannon and rocket artillery on the collision line. In the Novopavlovsk and Zaporizhia directions, the enemy shelled more than 15 settlements. Among them are Belogori, Bogoyevlenko, Ugledar, Malinovka, Orkhov and Shevchenko. In the Yuzhno-Buz direction, the occupiers fired at military and civilian infrastructure facilities. The fires affected more than 20 settlements along the collision line. To conduct aerial reconnaissance, the enemy made more than 30 sorties from UAVs. Violating all the norms of international humanitarian law, the laws and customs of warfare, the Russian invaders are building fortifications by robbing the local population. Thus, in the village of Blagodatnoye, Kherson region, construction materials and metal structures of estates are confiscated from private households of civilians for the construction of engineering fortifications. Aviation of the defense forces inflicted 22 strikes over the past day. The defeat of 18 areas of concentration of weapons and military equipment, a strong point, as well as 3 positions of enemy anti-aircraft missile systems was confirmed. Air defense units shot down 3 cruise missiles. Rocket troops and artillery attacked the command post, the area of concentration of manpower, weapons and military equipment, 2 air defense and artillery facilities, 1 ammunition depot and other military facilities of the enemy. As Ukrinform reported, Russia has increased its grouping in the Black Sea to 9 ships, of which 2 aircraft carriers are equipped with Kalibr missiles. From February 24 to October 17, the armed forces of Ukraine liquidated about 65,320 Russian occupiers, which is 320 more than the day before. Explosions are heard in Kryvyi Rog in the Dnipropetrovsk region. According to Ukrinform, the head of the military administration of Kryvyi Rih Alexander Vilkel announced this on Telegram. Kryvyi Rog. Explosions in the northern part of the city. We are in shelters. Vilkel wrote. As Ukrinform reported, Russian invaders fired at the village of Marganets in the Dnipropetrovsk region from multiple launch rocket systems. At night the Russian militarians fired at Nikolaev with rockets, the man was lost. According to Ukrinform, Vitaly Kim, head of the Mykolaiv Regional Military Administration, announced this on Telegram. At night, Nikolaev was again fired upon by S-300 missiles. A 2-story building was hit. A man's body was found under the rubble. Search and rescue operations continue, Kim said. According to him, as of 6:20, power supply was resumed in the city. As the head of the OVA added, the flower market was also destroyed due to shelling. There are no victims. As Ukrinform reported, on the night of October 18, explosions were heard in Mykolaiv, after which the power supply was lost.